National panel. Brunell Donald-Kyei is the Vice Chair of Diversity Outreach for the National Diversity Coalition for Donald Trump. She joins us from Chicago. In Washington, Mara Liasson, National Political Correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Thank you all for being here. Mara, first to you. Do you see this shifting? Do we see a traditional tightening, or do you think that this is roughly where it has been?
I think it's roughly where it has been. There might be some tightening of the polls, but I do think that this race has been remarkably stable, with Hillary Clinton having a lead, and sometimes it gets bigger, but Donald Trump has yet to kind of reverse the dynamic of the race and start getting ahead in the battleground states and flipping some of those blue states red.
Brunell, I want to ask you about another poll question in here, and it deals with minorities, specifically the white and black vote. Hillary Clinton with 82% the black vote in this poll, Donald Trump with only 5%, and you see the breakdown there. From your perspective, what does that tell you, and what does it mean? Do you think it's real?
God bless you, and God bless America first. What I would say is that Donald Trump is the people's candidate. He's the person who's saying jobs, that he's going to give school choice, and those are big issues even in the African American community. So I'm going to tell you, there's backlash when you say, hey, I'm a Trump supporter and I'm black. So what I suspect is going to happen is on November 8th, black people who have been quiet and afraid to speak up are going to speak up louder than ever in that voting booth on November 8th. They're going to vote Trump, and then they may vote for Democrats straight down the ticket. But there are a lot of black people who are contacting me. They're afraid to speak up, but you'll definitely see on November 8th that it is greater than 6%, more like 16% to 25% black vote.
Brunell, on the issues, you think that Donald Trump is well positioned here as the change candidate, and you think, I guess, that these polls, majority of the polls, are not catching that?
What I would say is yes. I mean, the American people, the hurt, the pain, the suffering, the struggling that's going on the ground, it's heartbreaking. And I believe that so many Americans, poor and middle class, our veterans who have felt hopeless in this last 8 years, are going to walk into that voting booth on November 8th, and they're going to express that hurt. They're going to express that pain in a mighty way, in a mighty voice, in favor of Donald Trump, the change agent. We know that he is not part of the corruption that we're seeing in our government. Even with our media, he's not part of the corruption. And so America is going to speak loud and clear. Whites, blacks, Hispanics, Arabs, Chinese, we're going to speak loud and clear that we are tired of the corruption, and we're with Donald Trump. We want to drain the swamp that's going on in Washington, D.C.
And that's his tagline there. Charles, you listen to Brunell, you listen to other supporters, and there is this intensity, this enthusiasm. Can you judge how that affects, turnout and the close here over the next, less than 2 weeks?
Well, I think the enthusiasm for Trump surely exceeds that on the part of Democrats for Hillary Clinton. But it's not enough, because the universe of Republicans, at least, it's not enough now. The universe of Trump supporters is simply not large enough to carry a plurality. I do think it's interesting and important that the race has tightened. Mara's right that to some extent we're back where we started the beginning of the year, but if you look at the seminal event of the last month, which was the release of the Hollywood Access to tapes, the accusations when the bottom dropped out for just a few days of the Trump campaign, I think the real story is the narrowing as a result of that. That was an occasion where Trump could have just disappeared. He didn't. He's held his own, and two things have happened. One is that for Hillary, there have been these WikiLeaks releases, which have cumulatively, not individually, but cumulatively, reinforced the impression of a thoroughly corrupt campaign and the cynicism of depths that we haven't seen. And I think that's been important. And you add Obamacare, which is an extremely important issue that swayed 2 midterm elections and crushed the Democrats. It's now back as a result of those released. numbers.
Mara, about that, about Obamacare, about these issues as they're playing out in the final days, and you see $102 million being spent on this Senate race here in New Hampshire. Obviously, the balance of power is a huge story on Election Day.
Yeah, the balance of power is huge. If Hillary Clinton wants to fix Obamacare, which is what she says she wants to do, she's got to have a Democratic Congress, or at least as much of one as she can get to help her do it. Donald Trump says he wants to, repeal and replace it, which is the Republicans' proposal. I think the WikiLeaks thing, today the stories were about the WikiLeaks leaks were about the emails. The emails is kind of a headache for Hillary Clinton that keeps on throbbing. I mean, it just doesn't go away. And you really see a behind-the-scenes look of how her campaign officials understood what kind of problem it was. They were kind of tearing their hair out why she didn't get this out earlier or have a better explanation. And you see the kind of inner circle around her, her personal aides, really being the kind of secretive, not transparent, all the kinds of things that, have helped her get hugely terrible numbers on honesty and trustworthiness.
Yeah. Brunell, what's the most important issue for you, number one? And number two, do you think that Trump supporters care about how the U.S. Senate breaks down, Republican or Democrat, or the House and these House races break down?
The most important issue to me is economics, because the last 8 years, the economy, the poor people of this nation have suffered. The middle class have suffered. And let me tell you something. The American people don't want to be dealing with a presidential person going into office with all the baggage, with all the investigations that are going to be on top of Hillary Clinton. Our nation needs to heal. We want to heal. We want peace between the races. We want to make sure that our youth, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, have jobs. We want to make sure that the Supreme Court, that the Constitution is protected. Those are American issues. That has absolutely nothing to do with your race. That's to protect this nation. And then we want tougher immigration to make sure that our borders are safe, that we are not fighting illegal aliens and refugees for jobs. Americans are tired of fighting other people for jobs. And so that frustration is real. That hurt is real. And for the polls and different people to try to dismiss that, it's not right. It's not right. We're hurting America first.
Brunell, thank you for your time. The panel a little feistier tonight. I appreciate it. Charles and Mara in Washington, thank you very much. We'll have you back. Finally tonight, New Hampshire.
Make America great again. Make America great again. Make America great again.